In a world where plundering overlords have run amok, the exploited masses turned to one man to save them. They ruined his state, and now somewhere, somehow, someone's gonna pay.
Unfortunately, the fantasy ends there. Arnold Schwarzenegger's reign as California governor turned into a disaster flick that could spell catastrophe for the Golden State and the whole nation. Funny thing is, it all started out so well.
When I get to Sacramento, I will immediately destroy the car tax.
When Governor Gray Davis raised the car tax, Californians were already among the highest tax people in the nation, and Davis had just finished a giant spending spree. The governor even ignored some easy ways to help plug the massive budget deficit. Believe it or not, this golf course is owned by the state of California. Why not sell it? And sell this stadium, these fairgrounds, and this Malibu beach home where MTV once hosted a spring break special.
Don't forget to check out The Grind. It's up next, and Alice in Chains, so check it out.
Californians were already tired of politicians who kept demanding more from them while refusing to do any belt-tightening of their own.
So watch what's gonna happen over there.
The car tax was simply the final insult.
Hasta la vista, baby, to the car tax.
He would stay true to his word. Schwarzenegger pummeled dozens of candidates, including Gray Davis, Gary Coleman,
vote for me, Mary Carey,
and a porno star to win 2003's historically wacky recall election.
I'll be back.
The Terminator transformed into the Governator and promptly smashed the car tax. He was the perfect political superhero. The charm of Harry Tasker, the brains of Julius Benedict.
We're twins.
And of course, the muscle to make good on his promise to rescue Californians from spend-happy politicians.
Arnold Schwarzenegger simply lied to them. It comes down to that.
Tom McClintock was a California state senator when Schwarzenegger won the governor's race. He even ran against Arnold.
Tear up the credit cards and throw it away, so that our politicians can never ever do that again.
He promised to cut up the credit cards, live within our means.
Never ever spend more money than they take in.
And he did exactly the opposite. Schwarzenegger increased spending faster than we saw under Gray Davis.
But why? If ever there was someone powerful enough to cut spending, it was Arnold. Turns out there's a force in California politics that's much stronger than the Governator.
We're twisting arms. We're threatening people!
On this day, a teachers' union president was rallying his troops in Los Angeles to try to stop proposed cuts to teachers' jobs. 2 weeks earlier, other unions were at the same location, fighting against proposed layoffs to other school staff.
These are hardworking people. I'm one of them hardworking people. They're trying to put us off in the street. You know what? No.
We'll be back! We'll be back!
Don't let the Terminator catchphase fool you. They're not fans of Schwarzenegger.
What an idiot! I don't know how that woman hasn't reformed him a tiny bit.
He's an actor and he'll always be an actor. He ain't even that good of an actor.
Kennedy, she should be ashamed of herself. She either needs to divorce that fool or smack him into the middle of next week.
Unions have smacked Schwarzenegger around quite a bit. In 2005, the governor challenged unions with a slate of propositions, including one that aimed to restrain state spending.
The unions united in 2005 and they showed Arnold where to shove his propositions.
Schwarzenegger's propositions were obliterated.
When he came against the union showed them where the real acting came in.
A rally like this is quite a production. There are producers who come up with a game plan.
You know, the organizers have meetings at work and they're political analysts and whatever. They decide what the best course of action is.
There are directors with bullhorns and, of course, actors.
And the acting comes in with us people who are unionized.
Check in, grab a ready-made sign, and learn your lines.
The mighty, mighty union.
They're printed on sheets for your convenience. So much screaming and yelling, but it's all organized screaming and yelling.
I need you to stay longer and scream and yell and carry on.
The public employee unions have been acting in their own self-interest to plunder the treasury of the state, and they've done a very good job of it.
How good? Well, the state keeps hiring more workers. Today, California's state workforce is larger than the population of St. Louis, and tens of thousands earn six-figure incomes. Maybe you're surprised at the union's success.
Fully fund education!
After all, it seems like their programs are always getting cut.
Education funding has been getting cut left and right.
What's been happening to education funding in recent years?
It's been cut.
Well, that's propaganda. The spending for education has been steadily increasing, despite the fact that for at least the last 3 years, the student population in the state's been in decline.
California spends quite a bit on teachers. They're the highest paid in the nation, and overall state spending has exploded under Schwarzenegger. But that's just what governments do. Just as the Terminator was programmed to find Sarah Connor, government is programmed to grow and grow and grow and fight every effort to cut it back. Why is that?
Because government concentrates its benefits and diffuses the costs.
Here's what he means. Say California politicians are considering a $500 million bill to give raises to state workers. It's a lot of money, but since the total cost is spread across so many taxpayers, you, as an individual taxpayer, only have to pay a tiny amount, say 5 cents.
The taxpayer is getting dinged for the 5 cents, really has no serious motivation to go out and get active.
Would you spend all day protesting over a lousy 5 cents? And that's why government almost always grows bigger. Whenever there's a proposal that would boost spending, the group that would benefit mounts an organized effort to fight for it. Meanwhile, taxpayers just shrug at the added nickel.
But as all of those nickels begin to accumulate and begin to drag down the economy, people begin to sense that the society is seriously off track.
Put yourself in the shoes of a politician who's up for re-election. Even if you think the state spends too much, would you really want to oppose these people?
Keep on opposing, because you know what? We're going to come after you next, one step at a time.
Far better to have this highly organized production on your side, contributing to your campaign with money and volunteers.
We volunteer our butts off. We telephone bank. We go to these rallies.
Just 6 years after state legislators nearly spent California into oblivion, the state's on the verge of going broke after yet another spending spree. But guess what politicians have to say about their supersized budgets?
We've cut away the fat, we've cut away the meat, and frankly, we're at the bones.
Remember, she and her colleagues still own that golf course, that Malibu beach house. They're spending record amounts of dough. So what's with all the talk about cuts?
Cuts are going to be made. The only question is whether those cuts are made in family budgets through higher taxes, or they're made in government budgets through lower spending.
So guess who was forced to do the belt tightening?
Governor Schwarzenegger is proposing a huge tax hike to help close a growing hole in the state budget.
Sacramento politicians passed the tax hike in February 2009, squeezing another $1,100 from the average family. McClintock says it's inevitable that spending binges lead to tax hikes.
Spending can only be done by extracting money from the economy. It's either done by taxation or it's done by borrowing, which ultimately has to be repaid by taxation.
In 2008, State Senator McClintock became U.S. Congressman McClintock. When the newly minted representative arrived in Washington, Republicans were still hungover from their record spending binge. Then Democrats took over and quickly tried to outdo the GOP. McClintock worries that the Golden State offers a preview of coming attractions for a real-life disaster flick that's headed for our country.
I think if you want to know where our country is heading under Barack Obama, you only need to look to California. Years of unsustainable spending, followed by heavy taxes and regulations, has destroyed California's economy.
Pay us now! Pay us now!
Whether in Sacramento or Washington, unions fight to direct more tax dollars to themselves. And of course, so do bankers, corporate CEOs, and countless other special interest groups.
A generation ago, California, spending far less per capita, inflation adjusted, than we're spending today, had the finest public school system in the country. We were offering a free university education to every Californian who wanted one. We had the finest highway system in the world.
But now things are worse, even though taxes are higher.
You are not going to like this.
Remember the car tax?
Hasta la vista, baby, to the car tax.
More like hasta la vista to that promise, because the car tax is back.
It'll cost individual drivers hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars.
As high taxes, high borrowing, and high spending destroy California's economy, Californians are moving to those 49 other states. If we allow the same policies to destroy our country, where are we going to go?
Good question. Congressman McClintock does think we can turn things around, and here's hoping he's right. But if a powerful force of nature like Arnold Schwarzenegger gets so bludgeoned by big government, what hope do mere mortals have?